struggling right now, and war and terrorism and all that good stuff. So this is for them to remember that they're not alone. And all of other folks out there that just might be dealing with their own personal struggles.
Yep. You Are Not Alone. This is a tune by Jeff Tweedy from Wilco, you know him, and he and Mavis Staples did the tune. So you are not alone, even though you may think you are alone. You good? One, two, three.
You're not alone, I am with you, I'm lonely too. What's that song? It can't be sung by two. Broken home, a broken heart, isolated and afraid. Open up, this is a raid. I wanna get it through to you. You're not alone. You're not alone. Every night I stand in your place. Every tear on every face tastes the same. Broken dream, a broken heart, isolated and afraid. Open up, this is a raid. I'm gonna get it through to you. You're not alone. An open hand, an open heart. There's no need to be afraid. Open up, this is a raid. I wanna get it through to you. You're not alone. I wanna get it through to you. You're not alone. I'm gonna get it through to you. You're not alone.
Thank you, Trinity, Michael, Clarence, Doug, and Don. As usual, it's wonderful to have you here. You're playing a few of my favorite tunes today, so this is good. This is good. We are going to welcome the child within again this week. And we all have that. So let's say this blessing for ourselves. We love you, we bless you, and we appreciate you just the way you are. there we go. I guess that was our tune. We aren't going anywhere, so we're done. Okay. So our announcements this week. I will mention, and I think we've gotten our bulletins out. We had a little technical difficulties with that too. It's been one of those mornings, but I think we have them available for you now. One item I wanted to mention is the parking lot fund. We are working on replacing the parking lot out there. If you park behind the church, you know how necessary that is, and part of it might end up in the creek at some point if we don't do something about it. So we need to get that fixed up. So there is a special fund for the parking lot. You can specify on a check or whatever that that's what you want that particular contribution to be dedicated to. The estimated cost is about $20,000, so if we can raise 10, we can get the rest through a grant or possibly through a loan. So I wanted to mention that since it's here in the long list here on the bulletin. We have to be mindful of that. Today we are having the ACE discussion group. Is that correct? There they are, Norm and Sharon. They will meet with you downstairs after the service.
You're gonna do A's and B's.
Gonna have bees too? All right. Is there anything particular you want to share with us about that?
Just that the summer's greedy program is being worked on, and we will know soon what schools will be receiving your materials. So we're still taking anything you wish to contribute, but I can't believe our garage is half full
Oh, wonderful.
of donations, so thank you very much.
Oh, that's great. That is great to hear. Yeah, and let's see. The Anytime Riders group or circle will meet on Tuesday, and where will that be this week?
At my house.
Okay, so see Chris after if you need any more information. Let's see, bingo session carries on Thursdays, correct?
Yes, it does, and I want to give a big thank you to Pam, who did a training on Thursday. We had pizza, soda, chicken. Great job training for the new people. And we're gonna start getting together once a month, just together for a little get-together to say thank you, and we'll have some sort of a food, maybe go to a restaurant. But Pam, thanks so much. Anybody that wants to volunteer, it's a lot of fun, and it's whole other spiritual community over there. And it's our outreach community. So see me or David or somebody after service, and we'll get you hooked up.
Great.
And thanks to Rose, she just joined the team here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Rose. And thank you, Pam. That sounds like that was fun. So, let's see. Are there church-related announcements that I am leaving out at this time? Oh, I will say our prayer chaplain today is Joanne. So if you'd like a moment of silent prayer, I have something you need to share with her about your prayer needs, please see her after the service. Also, if you have prayer requests, we voice them here. The prayer chaplain is available, and we also have little forms you can fill out if you want the prayer team to be notified of your concerns. Yes. Yes, so we have all those avenues to get prayer for what you need. I will say I had a call from Floyd a couple days ago, and he asked us to pray for traveling mercies because he is traveling to visit his family in Chicago next Sunday. So we can hold Floyd in our thoughts for that. And he also has a friend named Ron who just had heart surgery. So I'll pass that on to you for Floyd and Ron. And any other concerns, prayers, concerns, celebrations? Yes, Deborah.
I'm giving up poverty and moving into prosperity. I know I'm going to find a place very, very soon.
Excellent.
At least I'm in a motel and not in the van in the parking lot.
Oh, exactly, exactly.
I don't know how I'm going to pay for this week, but.
Well, it gives you some room to stretch out, I'm sure. That's
right.
nice.
Oh,
That's
a
nice.
bed, a real bed.
Yeah, that is good. That is good. That's a good celebration. Anyone else? Yes.
Well, update on my brother, Roy.
Mhm.
He did have his below-the-knee amputation last Thursday and is doing extremely well.
Oh, good.
Prayers of thanksgiving and continued healing for him.
Okay. Absolutely. I hope that will resolve his issues.
It will, I'm
You
sure.
know, that seems extreme, but sometimes it works better than other things. So good. I'm glad he's doing well. Yes.
I know you haven't forgotten, but this is Memorial Day weekend, and it is time to remember those, of course, who served, who have passed. But it's also a time to remember the families and the children who are still here. And remembering that we still have warriors that are fighting and families that are still struggling, even though it doesn't make the news every day. So a special prayer for all those and a special, thanks to those who have served.
Absolutely. Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they want to share today? Oh, yes, Rose.
I'd like to send out prayers to my daughter, that she just has comfort and finds a new path.
Okay. Okay, we will do that. Anyone else? Okay, so for Floyd, Ron, Deborah, Roy, Rose's daughter, and for all of those who have been affected by war, those who are no longer with us, and those who are here and are struggling with the aftermath. Am I leaving out anyone? Okay, well, let's take a moment of prayer for all those concerns. And so it is. Amen. And now our daily word will be shared with us by Deborah.
Good morning. Today is Sunday, May 28th, 2017. Today's words are divine expression. Our affirmation is, I am designed to see light and love. Ralph Waldo Emerson described prayer as the soliloquy of beholding and jubilant soul. Divine Spirit is always inviting me to behold the love within my heart and to celebrate it. I was born with an unlimited capacity of joy and love, so it is easy for me to live as a jubilant soul, Emerson identified. When I pray, I acknowledge truth's expression in my being. I acknowledge the divine expression in all living things. I release any preconceived images and ideas about people and situations, and instead behold the divine in each one. From this higher viewpoint, I see goodness in all. With a gladness of heart, I embrace my proclivity to see the divine in me and around me. Our scripture is Acts 17:28. For in him we live and move and have our being, as even some of your poets have said, for we too are his offspring. Let us acknowledge this sacred moment by singing Surely the Presence.
We open ourselves in this moment to realize God's presence. Father, Mother, God, we give thanks. And so it is. Together we say, Amen. Aye, aye, Captain. How many of you were in the military? I know one. Aye, aye, Captain. That's an affirmation, isn't it? That yes, I understand, and yes, I will comply. Well, that aye, aye, Captain can also be directed at us, at ourselves. Aye, aye, Captain. Because as in the military, the captain is often the leader of the group. Sometimes not. Sometimes there's someone ranking higher than the captain in the group. But when the captain is the leader of the group and we say, aye, aye, Captain, we are indeed affirming that we will comply. And when we say, aye, aye, Captain, to ourselves, we are acknowledging, affirming, that we are the captains of our own experience and that we have the opportunity to choose, not necessarily the events that we encounter, but the way we respond to the events that we encounter. And the way we respond to the events that we encounter becomes our experience. And so as we recognize that that is the chain of command, and we acknowledge that, yes, indeed, we are the captains of our own experience, then we empower ourselves to prepare ourselves for the kind of experience that we want. So, aye, aye, Captain. Regardless of what's going on out there, regardless of the stuff that we encounter, how we respond to that stuff is our experience. So our question might be, what kind of experience do we want? And when we choose to ask that question, literally to ask that question of ourselves, it also empowers us to realize that, oh, well, I can choose. I can choose the experience that I want. I can choose the values that I want to live by. I can choose the people with whom I want to associate. I can choose to have the experience of stress or no stress. I can choose to have the opportunity to determine how I want to be treated. Do we want to be oppressed or do we want to be empowered? You see, all of those questions, and there are many more, but those are a sample of the spectrum of questions that we might ask ourselves. And in answering those questions, we are literally defining the recipe for a fulfilling experience, for a joyful experience, for an experience that we can look back on and say, yeah, that was good. I chose that. I engineered that experience because I recognized that I have the power, and then I undertook the task of achieving that which I have affirmed. Values. Values is something that perhaps might be the top of the list, might be somewhere down in the middle of the list for you, but what kind of values do we want to live by? Those values that we have may or may not be values that bring us fulfillment, but if we recognize values that do bring us fulfillment, we can also acknowledge that the values probably came from a variety of sources. Our parents certainly are an important source of our value structure. It could be that our parents were, as I indicated a couple of weeks ago, our parents were lessons rather than examples, but nonetheless, they were teachers, whether they were lessons or examples, and the values that they inculcated in us at a very young age may have in fact survived these many years to where we are now. Or we may have encountered some other values that we found to be more fulfilling. The point is that each and every one of us has a set of values, and acknowledging which ones work for us, which ones bring us a fulfilling and joyful experience, and which ones don't, is a step to refining the values that we choose to live by. the company we keep. How often do we hear people complain about the company they keep? And the question is, why waste that energy? You know, if a relationship is not fulfilling and it does not promise to have an avenue to healing so that it can be fulfilling, then why waste your time? You can choose. You can choose those relationships. Now, we may say, well, you know, that relationship may not be the optimum for me, but it's better than no relationship at all. Or that relationship may be a relationship that is toxic, but boy, I sure hate to be out there on my own without a relationship. And I'm not necessarily talking about a spousal relationship. I'm talking about friends. I'm talking about the company that we keep. The company that we keep has a very big impact on how we experience life. The values that that are held by the people that we associate with are values that are pressed upon us, and we may choose that those values are not indeed what we would choose to live by. But the point is that we don't need to complain about the people that we associate with. Let's just change the people that we associate with. Let's find people who are indeed fulfilling and can bring us to a greater level of satisfaction in our lives. What about our stress level? You know, stress is actually useful if we manage it. There are levels of stress that can bring us to new ways of being, to give us an opportunity to try new things that we otherwise would be either too lazy to encounter, or that we would be too habituated to our existing experience. But stress can be useful. But sustained stress has been shown time and time again to be very unhealthy. It can create problems in circulation, in the heart. It can create psychological problems. Stress is useful, but it needs to be managed. So we can choose the level of stress that we find to be useful. And then if that stress level goes beyond that, we can choose to change our environment, change how we are involved in the situations. So we can manage our stress, and in so managing our stress, we will have a significant impact on the quality of life. How we choose to be treated. How many of you saw the post that I provided on our Facebook page? Arthur Brooks. Arthur Brooks is the president of the American Enterprise Institute, which many of you know is a conservative think tank. And Monica, could we have that video for Arthur Brooks, please?
Every single one of us is going to have an opportunity on social media or in person to answer somebody's contempt
you going to do the right thing and make the world a little bit better and show your strength and make your enemies your friends? Or you make the problem worse? That's a question that each of us gets to answer probably in the next 24 hours. So the president of the American Enterprise Institute, a very conservative organization, is offering us this avenue for addressing the polarity that we experience in this community. And that goes to our personal relationships. I mean, we have indeed had over the course of the last 8 months, 9 months, year and a half, an increasing level of perceived polarity. Now, it's not to say that the polarity has changed, it's just that we have perceived that polarity. We have situations, for instance, like the situation in Oregon when a man was berating a Muslim woman and two people came to her rescue to say, hey, don't do that. And he turned around and he stabbed them, killed them, both of them. I mean, you can say, well, you shouldn't get involved. Well, I'm not sure that's the lesson here. The lesson here may be that if we treat each other with contempt, we open up the path to some great tragedy. Tragedy in our personal relationships, tragedy with people that we don't know. But that path to tragedy is encountered or it's entered into through our contempt for another. And I know that in my own responses over social media over the course of the last 18 months, that I have had this feeling of, oh my God, how could you possibly think that? What an idiot you are, right? I mean, going on in my own mind. I didn't use idiot in any of my posts that I can recall. But that sense of contempt for another individual slams the door on any healing that the relationship might have, right? And so the question is, the question might be, how do I want to be treated? Do I want to be treated with contempt? Then I can just treat others with contempt. But if I want to be treated with honor, if I want to have my views at least considered, then I cannot begin that interaction with an assumption of contempt for the other. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you, right? The golden rule. The golden rule, which is present in each of the major traditions and probably some of the minor traditions as well. I'm not familiar with all the traditions, the spiritual traditions of the world, but we certainly know that do unto others as you would like to be done unto you. That is a present principle in each of the major traditions. And so this idea that we choose how we want to be treated by the approach, by the honoring that we offer to the other in the relationship. You know, Jesus gave instructions to his disciples as he sent them out to spread the word among the villages of the Levant. He said that if you come into a village and you are met with receptivity, then stay and teach. Find the person who is the leader of the village and teach the group there in the village. But if you are met with contempt, shake the dust off your feet and move on. And so it is. That's great advice for our personal relationships. If we are willing to honor the people that we encounter, we will much more likely be honored. But if we are met with contempt, do not respond with contempt. Shake the dust off your feet and move on. Well, in our daily word this morning, we see, there's Arthur Brooks. We see this idea that we are the divine expression. That's exactly right. We are the divine expression. We're the expression of God here in this moment. And how we choose to honor that role that we have will determine how we encounter and experience that relationship, that event, that happening in our life, whatever that happening is. And so, with gladness of heart, I embrace my proclivity to see the divine in me and around me. I would change that. I would say, with gladness of heart, I embrace my proclivity to see the divine around me and in me. First, we see the divine around us. We see the glory of God reflecting from every aspect of our experience. And we recognize that we are part of that experience. We are part of that divine expression. We are the divine expression here in this moment. Now, the interesting thing is that as we encounter our relationships, it is very easy to fall into the trap to say, well, that person, not what I would do, you know. That person has hair longer than me, right? That person has clothes that don't match, or that person is wearing jeans that are tattered and soiled. Well, in fact, you can go down to major department store now, and you can buy muddied jeans for $435. And you can be muddied in every encounter that you have. I mean, you don't have to wallow in the mud to look like a mud ball. So, and if you're going to do that, please see me, because I have some old tattered jeans, and I can paint those jeans to look like mud, and I'd rather I have the $425 than May D&F or May Company, whoever those department stores are out there now. So we fall into this trap of elevating ourselves by diminishing others. And this passage from Luke, do not judge and you will not be judged. It's not that you won't be judged by others, but rather you will not be judged by yourself. Because you see, you can judge yourself as being superior to another, and that is just as detrimental as judging yourself as inferior to others. Do not judge and you will not be judged. Do not condemn and you will not be condemned. Forgive and you will be forgiven. Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. It's not about someone doing something to you that reflects what you did to them, but rather it is all in your own consciousness. It is all in your own experience that you have constructed. When you give out in honor, you will have the experience of honor. When you love unconditionally, you will have the experience of love. When you are willing to be the expression of the divine in this moment, your moment will be divine. Regardless of what goes on out there, regardless of the response you get back, the divine is going to be your experience when you are the expression of that. He also told them a parable. Can a blind person guide a blind person? Will not both fall into a pit? A disciple is not above the teacher, but everyone who is fully qualified will be like the teacher. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, friend, let me take that speck out of your eye, when you yourself do not see the log in your own eye? You hypocrite. First, take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. But if you take the log out of your own eye, I suggest to you, you won't see the speck in your neighbor's eye. If you are willing to say, what is mine to be here in this moment as a divine expression, then what you see out there is going to be a reflection of that divine expression. And it will not be a concern to you to take the speck out of the neighbor's eye. So, in unity, we have these 5 principles. We have the 5, I call them the 5 pillars of faith, and I ask forgiveness from my Muslim brothers and sisters because I stole the 5 pillars phrase. There's one power and one presence, God the good, omnipotence. That is the premise. Now, it's reasonable to say that we cannot prove that premise except in how our lives are lived and experienced. The one Son of God, the Christ, abides in each and every one of us. And that's a proposition. That's a proposition that we can put out there and we can say, okay, let's prove that. Let's test that at least. We may not prove it, but let's test it at least. And then we have the process of the thoughts we hold in mind manifest in our experience. That is indeed very much in our control. And we can, that is our laboratory right there. That's where we test these propositions. That's where we test the premise that there's one power and one presence. And then we have the practice. And the practice is meditation, prayer, denials, and affirmations. And that's where we engineer our experience. That's how we change how we encounter the world. Meditation, prayer, denials, and affirmations. Denials and affirmations work on the subconscious. Prayers and meditation, that works on the conscious, but it also works on the unconscious. But the point is that those are really the tools that we use to refine, to polish our own consciousness so that we are not trapped by that choosing to judge, that we're not trapped by dishonoring someone in our relationships, that we are truly engineering our experience by practicing the denials and affirmations. And the denials and affirmations, let me just clarify that. We've done this before, but I'll do it again. Denials are not about avoiding the reality, but rather disempowering the negative aspects that we see in our lives. For instance, if we feel that someone is being contemptuous to us, they're treating us with contempt, we can disempower that by saying that the way that person is treating me does not define who I am. And with that denial, that disempowering of what seems to be a negative aspect of our experience, by denying that power, we open ourselves up to empower ourselves with an affirmation. I am an honorable, loving being. That affirmation is now much more effective if I have uprooted that weed, if I have taken out that false idea that I am worthy of contempt or that I am unworthy of being honored. So the denial paired with the affirmation, the denial happens once, the affirmation is repeated over and over and over again. Those are the practices. And then the promise is that when we practice these principles, when we apply these principles, our lives will change. And through the practice and through the promise, we will prove the premise that there is one power and one presence. And that is emanating through me now. So when we say, aye, Captain, we are affirming that we are indeed the determiner of our experience. We are indeed the person that defines what our life will be. It's not up to anybody else. Truly, it is our own experience and it is our own responsibility. It is our own ability to respond to the adversity of our life, to create an experience that is fulfilling and that is joyous. It's up to us. Aye, Captain. We'll have our meditation. As we come into our meditation, let us come in with I cast all my cares. I cast all my cares on you, God. I cast all my cares on you. And even when I'm not sure what I should do, I cast all my cares on you. Oh, as we breathe into this moment, as we allow ourselves to rest without obligation, rest without any requirement of us in this moment, just resting, becoming familiar with that consciousness scape in which we live. We affirm, aye, Captain. I am the captain of my experience. There is no one else responsible for my life. No one else responsible for my relationships. No one else responsible for how I am treated. I accept the responsibility myself. I affirm that I have the power. I affirm that I have the tools. I affirm that I have the motivation to be the captain of my life. And as we come back into this time and space, let us come back sharing the words of the Lord's Prayer.
forever.